Hi, it's Michelle Onyango here with Stride Wellness. So it's a little bit of an unusual time for me to be posting to a Facebook Live, but I just got home from a great evening with a good friend and also some new people that I met, and we did dream boards. And I thought, this would be so great for me to have the opportunity to upload a picture of my dream board and also upload the video of harnessing your willpower that I did via webinar on Friday. And when I went to go look, guess what? A little bit of a technological snafu. It didn't record. So now I have this content and I wasn't able to get it to everybody who wanted to watch it. Some people signed up and sometimes just aren't able to make it. So I thought, well, this gives me a good opportunity to reshare that content with the people who are interested in seeing it, but also it gives me an opportunity to record it here on Facebook. So if you are joining in, what I'm going to be covering is all of the information that I shared on my webinar called Harnessing Your Willpower. So if you remember, 2 Wednesdays ago on my Wellness Wednesday segment, I had a presentation on SMART goals, and I handed out to those who requested it a little PDF, and it explained how to set a SMART goal. And I had a ton of feedback and people who just wanted to take the next step. So I created a companion booster, which basically is a second PDF. It's a little bit more in depth on how to get the most out of your SMART goal and take it one step further. So I'm going to continue on with that here today. So that last Wellness Wednesday that I did on gratitude, resolutions, and goals, if you didn't catch that Facebook Live, you can watch it following this Facebook Live segment, this Facebook Live segment, because it's posted to my wall. And I've also uploaded it to my Stride Wellness website, which is www.stridewellness.org. And you can find that in the Wellness Wednesday section. There's lots of videos and resources posted there. So without repeating myself, the gist of the episode was that you should begin all things with gratitude, including 2018 and your plans for change and growth. Doing so allows us to start from a place of positivity, which allows us to more easily and quickly move to a place of abundance. I also encouraged people to move away from the idea of resolutions to goals, because resolutions are basically just blanket statements. Goals, on the other hand, are a plan to achieving what we desire. I went one step further and introduced you to the SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And I created that guide that I mentioned before to manifesting your desires and needs just by following a simple PDF. So if you do want a copy of that PDF, that blueprint is still up on my website, and you can find it at stridewellness.org/SMART goal. And it will be sent directly to your inbox. So now I'm going to take the opportunity to just take it one step further. And I really hope that this can help people find a higher degree of success with their goal setting. So that leads me to the information I'm going to share with you today. It's the 13th of January today. And unfortunately, I have some bad news. For all you resolution makers out there, research shows that 8 to 13% of you will complete your resolutions and then maintain it for 1 year. Sadly, the information is going to get a little worse before it gets better. One study by Business Insider says that 80% of people will revert to their old ways of doing things by mid-February. Was that you last year? Don't fear. I want to help, and I think I have some information to do just that. Think of when you first set your goal to start 2018. Did you feel excitement? A certain zest or zeal for what you were planning to achieve? Well, this excitement and motivation is what allows us to be successful in the first portion of our goal setting. What starts to happen though is after about 10 to 14 days, that new car smell fades. The New Year's glow starts to diminish. You might be feeling some of that now. The goal you set can start to feel a tiny bit more difficult. But that's okay because you have some willpower in reserve to handle the obstacles, challenges, and barriers you're going to face in accomplishing that goal. The issue is, willpower and discipline can be hard to maintain for a sustained period of time. With wavering willpower and discipline comes the temptation to veer off course. The likelihood of staying on track begins to diminish. And for this 10 to 14 day period of willpower, it can feel like a slog. Hence the reason mid-February is the time with the largest drop-off in New Year's resolutions. So what can we do to override this finite amount of willpower? So let me ask you a question. What's the opposite to willpower and discipline? Let me give you a hint. It's something you don't think of. It's something you don't have to work yourself up to do. It's automatic. And the answer is, it's a habit. Habits occur without any need for willpower. If you can create habits within your goal, you'll find more success. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. As you're nearing that time when your willpower is going to need a little kick, in the butt to stay the course, harness your willpower into one new habit, a new thing that you can do. And once that habit has been created, you can then take some new zest and zeal for a new habit. So you just use your willpower to create habit. And you continue to repeat this process until the change that you are wanting to make, that goal that you want to achieve, has been habitualized. And if you can do that, you will be much more likely to achieve your goals. So I'd like to note that there's an adage that it takes 21 days to make a habit. Research shows that this is true for smaller tasks. But when you increase the difficulty or complexity of the task, the amount of time it takes to create a habit also increases. You will know you have reached habit level when you do something without thinking or having to talk yourself into it. Hey Amy, thanks for watching. The thing about goals is that you don't have to complete the entire thing right now. If your goal, for example, was say to lose 20 pounds, what would you prefer? Sorry, I was cutting out there. So what would you prefer? Would you prefer to lose 20 pounds by March only to gain it back by July? Or to slowly lose a few pounds a month and be 20 pounds lighter in December? So thinking about things in the long term. So don't be afraid that, it can take a while. So I'm going to give you a few tips to creating a habit. So when we set a SMART goal, one of the things that we can do during the planning phase is to troubleshoot. So that's talking about what will be our obstacles, triggers, or pitfalls. Be honest and realistic, and then make a plan for those things if they occur. So if you've set a SMART goal, but you haven't listed out some of the obstacles or triggers that may occur, go back and do that. It doesn't take that much time, but it can be super helpful because when we're prepared for something, it's not a surprise and it's also easier to handle when it does occur. So that might be, if, you set a goal to do more physical activity, your obstacle might be that, you want to do a lot of outdoor activity and then it gets cold and you're much less likely to do it. So then you can make a plan. Maybe you're going to say, okay, for these months, I'm going to go to a gym, or I'm going to, buy some better shoes or some better clothes to make sure that it's not so cold when I am doing the exercise. So just finding some alternatives so that when that does come up, you're able to handle it better. Tip number 2 is to find someone who will hold you accountable, but who's also caring, supportive, and understanding. And that could be a group of people or one person. Maybe you join some kind of group with like-minded individuals. A tribe of people cannot be underestimated. So I have an accountability partner, and it has done wonders for my goal setting. I will cover this in a Wellness Wednesday episode near the end of the month, but you really want to find somebody who has similar goals but is not fearful of your goal. So if you are going to do something big and audacious, awesome. But make sure that that person is not scared of your big audacious goal. So if they're fearful that they couldn't do it, sometimes they try to, that fear comes out in trying to protect you and say, well, maybe that's just too big for you to do, or I don't think that that's, possible. So really find somebody who can support you in your goals but at the same time can challenge you. So if you're not holding up your end of what you wanted to do, that they can lovingly encourage you, hold you accountable, but also bounce ideas off of you and them that you can go back and forth. Oftentimes, when you find an accountability partner, you often each have goals, and they don't have to be the same goals, but you can check in with each other. So goal number 3 is don't tempt yourself. You don't need to be a hero. Set yourself up for success. So that might mean don't buy that tempting food, or, if you're going dry in January, just don't buy alcohol. Even if there's a sale and you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to buy this for February, just leave it. You can purchase it later. If your goal is about having a better relationship with, say, your mom, but you have a tendency to fight with her about money, don't talk about money with her. So if it comes up, change the subject. Or if you know that, you're having money issues and she calls, you don't have to let her in on what's going on if that's something that's a conflict creator in your life. It's okay to set that boundary to protect that person and you from having to go through that conflict. So let me give you an example. When I was pregnant with my daughter Maya, my doctor, bless his soul, told me that I had to stop eating bread and sweets because I was turning into a house. And those were my words, not his. For anyone who knows me well, knows that bread is basically my favorite thing on this planet. So the next time that I went to the grocery store, guess what I did? I went into the bread aisle and I opened up bags of baguettes and French bread, and I smelled them and cried because I couldn't buy them. You know what? Guess how long it lasted before I purchased bread? I was just torturing myself. We don't need to put ourselves in that situation. So the moral of the story is just don't tempt yourself. Tip number 4 is going back to the point that I made earlier. Your goals are still achievable if you slip up or have a setback. So if you plan to read 1 book a month for a year and you don't make it happen in February, don't just throw the goal away. Even if you don't catch up, that's still 11 books in a year, and that's better than 1, 0, or 10. So don't be so hard on yourself, because I know if I said to you right now that my goal was that I was going to walk 3 days a week, and last week I only had, 2 walks for that week, and then I said, I'm such a failure. What would you say to me? You'd say, that's okay, Michelle, 2 is better than none, and you can do 3 next week, right? You wouldn't say, you're a failure. You should just pack it in and not do any more walking. How embarrassing, Michelle. Of course you wouldn't say that, right? But the thing is, I bet you say some of those things to yourself. Seriously, Why is it okay to beat yourself up? Because it's not. Show yourself some grace and show yourself some kindness. You don't have to be perfect. And what I think we're all trying to be is just better. So before I, go on to the next tip, I want you to repeat after me. So you can just say this out loud. Don't worry, nobody's judging you. I can't hear you. You're just going to say, Michelle, and seriously, say it outside. Say it out loud. Michelle, I'm going to be kind to myself. Okay, good. So tip number 5 is use routine. Routine is naturally habit forming. We drive the same way to work most of the times, over and over and over again. And sometimes we don't even know how we get from point A to point B or vice versa. And that's because it becomes a routine and it becomes a habit. And the wonderful thing is routine takes the guesswork out of whatever we're doing, and it removes the pressure to decide what we should do. And conserving in that area allows us to have more cognitive ability to deal with other things. And this, I discussed this a little bit in my last Wellness Wednesday, just about how decision making, when we repeatedly have to make decisions, they actually become a burden, and it takes more out of us. So if you have, say, you have something along the lines of wanting to eat better during the new year, and you've set that out in a SMART goal, and you want to increase your water intake and all of that, creating a routine of having a glass of water with every meal will mean that you can use your willpower to create that habit, because that's a simple habit of just having a glass of water with every meal. And that should be able to be done in about 21 to 30 days. That should be habitualized, but you're using your willpower towards that one thing, but it's becoming a routine. So you just stop thinking about it and it just becomes added to your life. And then once you have that down, then you could add something else. Maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to cut out eating after 8 p.m. And once you've done that for a while, then you can use your willpower to make that habit and use that routine. And then, one of the routines you might have is that you're going to brush your teeth at 8 o'clock, no matter what, so that you don't eat after 8 o'clock. And then once that's in place, then you're going to add another thing. So you can just take these little goals, use your willpower to create that habit, and do that through routine. That's something you're doing all the time. And the more you do it, the more habit forming it is, and the less you have to think about it. If you wake up in the morning and have the same thing for breakfast every morning, and you do that for 1 week, and then the next week you do something different, it just becomes a habit. It's like, okay, every morning I get up, I eat this, it's healthy, and then I just move on throughout my day. Less decision making, less worrying about what you have to do, less preparation. Becomes routine, becomes habit, and before you know it, it's just part of your daily life. So trust me when I say routine plus willpower can be the best recipe for habit. Okay, so in summary, goals can be hard to carry out because after the excitement and initial surge of motivation, we rely solely on a finite amount of willpower. And if you're able to overcome that hump to success on discipline alone, you'll likely if you're not able to just use discipline alone, you'll likely just give up on your goals. So to combat that, you can use some willpower to create your habits. Habits can take some time to form, so don't overcomplicate them. And if you have 15 goals for 2018, you might want to tone it back and take one thing at a time. Some of the tips to help along the way that I listed here today were to troubleshoot, find an accountability partner, remove temptations, be kind to yourself, and use routine. I'd like to add in there another one that can be a bit, can be quite helpful, is to reward yourself. So after maybe you've gone 30 days doing what it is that you want to do, giving yourself a little reward on top of just being successful. That's what me and my accountability partner do. We do something called a champagne moment. And so after we achieve our goals, we pop a bottle of champagne. So you can pick something for you. That might be going out for a massage, or spending time with a loved one. It can be lots of different things, and it doesn't have to be huge. It might even just be treating yourself to a really great coffee shop that you don't go to all the time. And so if you can implement all those things, the chances of you finding greater success increase. So I do have a little booster pack to go with the SMART goal blueprint that I gave out last week. And if you're interested in it, you can just comment that you'd like a copy and I can send it. If I don't have your email address, then I will need your email address to send it to you. But it's a step-by-step actionable plan about how it is that you can go through your goals. And then all of this tips that we covered here today are listed out, and you fill them out to make sure that you are going to, make yourself accountable, but also that you have a plan in place. And it's called the Goal Setting Booster. So that's all my time here today. And that's my little 2-part series on goal setting. And if you have any questions, please feel free. You can type them in and I can answer them. I really appreciate those who watch live. I'm always available to answer any questions. I'm on Instagram at Stride Wellness, and I'm also on Pinterest under Stride Wellness. I'm on YouTube under the same name. My website is stridewellness.org. There's lots of free resources on there. And I'm on Twitter at Wellness Stride. So it's backwards, 3 S's in the middle. And I'm always available to chat on my Facebook wall as well. I try to answer as quickly as possible. So although my presentation of the goals is done, once I finish up here, you can still post your questions and I can answer them at any time. Until next time, thanks for watching and have an awesome Saturday night. And I'll talk to you guys again another time. Take care and be well.